Hey gang, Jerry here. And today's video, what I'm going to share with you is I just recently purchased the Titan M1 Crossbow by TenPoint, and I'm going to do the unboxing and show you everything that comes in the kit, and then we're going to go through the assembly process. So that's what we're going to do today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I previously had the TenPoint Titan SS crossbow, and I really loved it, and I thought I would upgrade to the M1. The M1 is the replacement crossbow for the SS, and let's see what we get in the kit. So when you first open up the kit actually comes with, it looks like 3 sets of broadheads. They're 100 grain fixed blade broadheads by Redneck, so that's kind of nice. You have 3 Pro Elite crossbow bolts. They don't come with the lighted nock, but you actually can swap out this nock with the lighted nock if you so wish. And let's see, we have the quiver and bracket. We have the rope sled. It's important to note that this kit is the rope sled version. It's not the AccuDraw. The AccuDraw is like $100 more. But I selected to go with the rope sled version. We have our crossbow stock, pieces of cardboard, and we have our foot hook, some instructions, and the bow itself, and some decals, instructions, and other miscellaneous parts. And that looks like that. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, and I'm going to unpackage and get the plastic off all of this and get the box out of the way, and then we'll go through the assembly process. So stay tuned. Okay everyone, we have everything unpackaged and everything looks really good. We have our stock, limbs, rope sled, our quiver components, foot stirrup, and all the necessary hardware along with the owner's manual and assembly instructions. Now the assembly instructions tell you to put the limb on the stock and then go and assemble the quiver components and install the foot stirrup and quiver components. But to do it in that process, you're going to be handling the entire bow and then having to put components on the limbs. And what I'm going to do it a little bit differently. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install all the components on the limbs, and then I'm going to actually install the limbs on the stock, because doing that process is very simple. It basically slides on the limbs slide on the end of the stock and attach with one single bolt. So we're going to work on the limbs first, assemble the quiver components, install the quiver onto the limbs, and then put the limbs on the stock. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing you're going to need to do is remove the 2 Allen set screws that are on the bottom side of the limbs to install the foot stirrup. So let's go ahead and do that. The kit does supply you with the necessary Allen wrenches to assemble the bow, but the only thing that you're going to need is a screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver for 2 of the screws for the quiver. All right, so we have those out, and the kit actually gives you 2 different link studs for the limbs, and it's because there's different, this kit is universal for all different bows. I believe we're going to be able to use the just shorter studs. We'll try that first and see how that goes. Okay, so we have our shorter studs started, and then next thing we're going to put our foot stirrup, and our foot stirrup has a little cutout on one side, and that's where the stud is actually going to sit into the foot stirrup to hold it in place. So that's going to actually go up with the limb upside down. So we'll slide our foot stirrup into the holes there. And then screw our screws down the rest of the way. Snug them up. And that's Now our foot stirrup is installed. And you can see that the studs are sticking up. And the next component that's going to go on is this little kind of like L-shaped or S-shaped bracket here. And you're going to want to mount this bracket to where this, section with the pointed is facing out towards the front of the bow. And the reason for that is there's a set screw here that we'll tighten later when we put the limbs on and put the limb bolt on. Then you tighten the set screw up and that'll lock that limb bolt into place. So we'll slide that on, and it actually goes in this orientation where this goes out. Slide that on, and then you actually have two locking nuts to mount that into place securely. And we'll install those and tighten those up. So I forgot to mention that the other tool that you actually need that does not come in the kit is a 7/16, so either ratchet or wrench to tighten these lock nuts up. I'm just using a little ratchet here, but a 7/16 wrench will work just fine. Okay. All right, nice and snug. Now, next component is this bracket right here. And this bracket allows you to mount the quiver either for right-handed shooters or left-handed shooters. You can mount the bracket in this fashion here. It'll go down the left side of the bow. I'm sorry, the right side of the bow where it's hanging off the right side. Or you can mount it this way where it's on the left side for left-handed shooters. Now I'm a right-handed shooter, so I'm actually going to mount the bracket where it's coming off of the right side of the bow when the bow is right side up. So there's two screws that are supplied with the kit. Again, they're Phillips head machine screws, and we'll go ahead and install those now. Okay. All right, so we have our quiver mounting bracket installed. Next component that's going to go on is the locking bracket for the quiver itself. And there's a locking tab on it, and you want to make sure that's facing forward to the front of the bow. And that's going to mount on this little side arm right here on our bracket. And again, it's actually supplied two machine head Phillips screws, and we'll use those to mount this little bracket on. We'll do that next. Okay, all right, so next thing we're going to work on here is the quiver. We're going to move our limbs out of the way here, and you're actually supplied this little rubber tube, and what that is, it's for a little hanger. You can use it as a little hanger if you don't like to shoot with your quiver on your bow. You can install this little rubber tube, two little plastic push pins. Push those into the end of the tube. And then you push the tube up into the quiver and it kind of locks it in place. Do that for both sides. And now you have a little hanger that you can, take your quiver off once you get into your stand and kind of hang it on a limb or something like that. So the quiver has multiple different places that you can attach the mounting bracket to, and again, it's designed for multiple different bows. What the best place to actually position this is kind of look at the quiver, put the bracket on it, and kind of see where the end of the quiver would end up. You don't want it to go past the end of the foot stirrup. You don't want it to be out here, because then you wouldn't be able to cock the bow. If just below the foot stirrup would be the best place, because then your bolts would be sticking out the back here and it kind of would center it into the limb area. And it looks like for this quiver, I'm going to mount it on the first two hole locations on the quiver. So we'll do that. Take, again, the countersunk screws that are Phillips and use those to mount this in place. Okay, and then there you go. And that's how your quiver will actually sit. See, it's just below where the foot stirrup is, and then your bolts will probably be out about here. So it's a good location for the quiver. And again, for a right-handed shooter, it's actually going on the right side, so it won't be in your way when you're actually trying to shoot. So now, actually, all that is set. Now we can actually move on to putting the limbs onto the stock, and we'll do that next. Okay, so to do the limbs onto the stock, you have a cable saver, and you're actually supplied a little tube of lube in your kit. And you're going to want to take a little bit of that lube, squeeze it out onto your finger, and just kind of cover both sides of the cable saver. And that'll help lubricate the strings during shooting and lubricate the cable saver while sliding up and down inside the riser. So we lube that up. Take our stock, we'll take our quiver off because we don't have to have that in place doing this. And what we'll do is we'll mount our limbs to our stock now. Now the easiest way to do that is to take our stock, take your limbs, get it into the proper orientation, get our cable saver in place, make sure it's in the correct orientation, take our limbs, get our cables in position, and then get it into that slot right there. Our string is going to go on top, and then you're going to slide the limbs onto the shaft that's coming out of the stock. Now the string is actually going to kind of push the limbs back this way, so if you just take and pull them a little bit towards you, you can actually work it down all the way flush and not have to force it with the bolt. And now my limbs are flush. Now it's just a matter of taking your mounting bolt, and it is supplied with a lock washer first, then a regular washer. Let's put that into the end here. And then, like I said, the kit does come with the necessary Allen wrench, which this is a 3/16 Allen wrench. The other one was an 1/8 inch. Tighten your mounting bolt down. And because there's a set screw to keep this locked in place, all you have to do is make sure that this is snug, and I do have it snug, and then take your 1/8 inch wrench, and there's a little set screw right here, and all you have to do is screw that down and make that snug, and that will lock your limb bolt in place and ensure that it'll never come loose. And that's snug. We can put our quiver back on, and there you go, completely assembled. And you can see that the quiver is below the limbs. Your arrows will be coming out the right side for a right-handed shooter. Cool. Pretty easy process. I really like this bow. It's very well designed. Next, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a complete review of the bow. We're going to be shooting it through the chronograph. It is rated for 370 feet per second, up to 370 feet per second. We're going to see what kind of speeds we're going to get out of it with the supplied arrows that came in the kit and the tips that came in the kit. We're also going to do a 3-shot grouping to see how tightly it groups, and my overall thoughts of the bow. So if you'd like to actually see that video, there should be a link at the end of this video linking you to that video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, if you would subscribe, that would really help me out. But that's it for this one. Always remember, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. All right, gang, take care. See ya.